Mr. Marri, I begin by asking you, the Pakistan Army claims that 33 BLA militants have been neutralized. Can you confirm these reports?
I think we should not believe anything that Pakistani army says. They rely upon just lies from the beginning. So I don't think we should listen to anything what the Pakistani army says. I think the operation is still underway. The Baloch are still holding the Pakistani soldiers hostage.
You think,
as
sir,
POWs.
Mr. Marri, pardon me, but you think or you know?
That's what our facts reveal.
Okay.
It is very contrary to what the Pakistani army is saying.
So could you shed further light?
Sorry?
Could you shed further light on what you're telling us as per
yes,
your reports?
I have just tweeted half an hour ago that there should be international fact-finding missions for the situation in Balochistan in general, but in particular for the train incident. They should go as soon as possible to investigate the reality about the situation at present. Because Pakistan generally lives in denial, and especially in this incident, they've cordoned off the whole area. They've cordoned off miles around where the incident is happening. They said nobody died. We believe most of the soldiers or most of the people in this incident are not accounted for. So there should be a fact-finding mission. The reality and the truth will be revealed.
Mr. Marri, as per reports, 21 hostages have been killed along with 4 Pakistani soldiers. Keeping the deaths of the soldiers aside, what was the need to kill innocent civilians?
I think killing innocent civilians is a terrorist act, but there was no innocent civilians on that train, or if they were released in the first phase of the releasing of people. Women and children were released. Only Pakistani soldiers were kept on the train by the Baloch fighters. That's the information that I have, and that's the information which was put forward by them in the international media.
So you're saying that of the hostages, no innocent civilian has been killed?
Absolutely not. I mean, they have claimed that nobody has been killed. No dead bodies have come forward. All these 200 tabuts were sent by the Pakistani military to Quetta station because they were willing to sacrifice their 200 soldiers in captivity. But the Baloch fighters said, we treat them as POWs, but the Pakistani generals treat them as gun fodder. Probably Beijing told them to sacrifice their people and to get the sympathy of the world.
So it is only the soldiers currently that are being held hostage by the BLA?
Actually, in fact, I think that is the truth, yes. And one more thing, we must keep in mind, because the Pakistani army runs the show, for them it's like a puppet show. Any war, any incident is a puppet show. Shahbaz Sharif had to wait for 30 hours to get his instructions from Pindi what to say. And then after 30 hours, he just woke up and passed a comment. It's very sad to see what's going on. The journalists in Pakistan do not exist. There is no journalist. They're all yellow journalists being paid by Pindi, toe the line of ISPR. Have you seen people who come on your shows? What do they say? They say everything is hunky-dory, there's no situation, muट्ठी भर लोग हैं, कोई होई कुछ हुआ ही नहीं, वो हमने सबको रेस्क्यू कर दिया, कोई रेस्क्यू नहीं हुआ, सब रिलीज हुए, जो निकले हैं they've been released, and whoever is still in captivity are still in captivity. 23 इधर 20 इधर numbers manipulation करते हैं, they downplay everything. Please send in unbiased journalists to find out what's happening. It's still happening right now.
Mr. Marri, it's also further being alleged that your supporters and handlers of the BLA are in Afghanistan. What do you say about that report that has come out?
I think that's irrelevant. We should focus on the matter at hand. The matter at hand, there's an independence war. The war of independence against Pakistani state. Baloch are struggling for the restoration of their sovereignty and territorial integrity. Who cares who's handling them, who's not handling them? It's the Baloch who are fighting their war. Why are we getting distracted by Pakistani narrative of Afghanistan, India, USSR, China, Trump administration? Please, let's not fall into that trap. They're trying to detract from the real issue. The real issue is the illegal occupation, the enforced disappearances, the subjugation of the Baloch people by the Punjabi state of Pakistan.
Mr. Marri, what was the end goal of the train hijacking? Was it targeted to reach the world? Was it to start a conversation with the Pakistani establishment?
I think it's very obvious what the end goal of an independence movement is. The end goal is to get your country back. And I don't think these are like gimmicks or ploys to get the Pakistanis to sit on the table and do what? If we wanted to sit on the table, if the Baloch people who are struggling for the independence of Balochistan, we would be in the Pakistani government and become chief ministers like the puppets they have and make money. This is not a war for making money and being puppets of the Punjabis. This is a war of independence. Baloch want their dignity back.
Right, but I'm going to pose that question once again. You've talked about the independence movement. I will once again ask, what was the end goal of the train hijacking specifically? You say that you now have Pakistani army and Pakistani soldiers that are being held hostage as per your report. So what is the end goal? What do you want out of this particular situation? Are you hoping that it gets some recognition internationally, that other countries get involved, or are you hoping to start some conversation with the Pakistani establishment and the army? What is the end goal of this particular situation?
I believe as an observer, the end goal or the whole issue at hand is the Baloch fighters proved many points to the world. First of all, they're not terrorists. If they were, they would have killed innocent people. They let the women and children out in the first phase. Secondly, they declared the Pakistani soldiers, they did not butcher them. They declared them as POWs according to Geneva Conventions. But the Pakistanis don't accept that. Fine. They gave 48 hours ultimatum for prisoner release. In the last 2 months, 70 people have been forcibly disappeared. In the last 20 years, 50,000 people have been forcibly disappeared. They want political prisoners in exchange for their military soldiers or Pakistani soldiers. But the Pakistan is not paying any attention to this. The international media is not paying any attention. The Baloch fighters are behaving like a professional army, and the Pakistani bogus army, the puppet army, is behaving like a group of thugs, not taking anything seriously, and then blaming the Baloch people for being terrorists and militants.
Mr. Marri, now that you've raised the point of the Pakistani government calling the Baloch Liberation Army or the Baloch people terrorists and militants, the Pakistan government has in fact now said that it will be cracking down on the militants and others involved in the hijacking of the train, and what they say have also been murders of civilians. How do you respond?
There is no government in Pakistan. Pakistan is one country. The army has a country. The country doesn't have an army. People like Sharifs, Zardaris and Bhuttos, they are puppets of the government. They are there to serve and protect the military. They will only tote the narrative of the military, Pakistani army. So there is no government in Balochistan or in Pakistan. I do not even consider them credible sources of information. We should totally ignore them.
Mr. Marri, because there is no credible source of information, as you say, and the world continues to struggle with that, because we don't know whether we are supposed to believe what the Baloch Liberation Army is saying, or are we supposed to believe what the Pakistani government establishment army is saying, right? That fact is the only established fact at this point in time. I just want to understand from you, do you think somewhere with the hijacking of the train, and as you claim, it's a narrative that is being spun by the Pakistani establishment saying that the Baloch Liberation Army has killed innocent civilians, do you think somewhere that narrative could dent the credibility of the Baloch Liberation Movement? Because how will you differentiate yourselves from any other militant or terrorist group? What is the evidence or proof that you have for the claims that you are making?
With all due respect, that's the reason I'm shouting out loud. Please send in a fact-finding mission. Tell the Pakistani government within the next 12 hours, the international community, be it the Indians, say we're going to send a fact-finding mission, unbiased journalists, to come and investigate the train incident. Because it's ongoing. I'm saying it's ongoing. They're saying it's all over. Please send a team. The truth, doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani ho jayega. Please, why don't you guys take, the action at this point, rather than playing the blame game, who's right, who's wrong. Let's prove it. Send a fact-finding mission, and we'll know what's the reality on the ground.
Okay, you tell me, if a fact-finding mission were to be sent, what would they really find?
they would find the Pakistani army is lying through their teeth. They are so embarrassed of what's happened to them, of their incapability and their inefficiency, that they've always boasted. You know Pakistan army, being an Indian, better than me. Look what happened in 1971. 90,000 soldiers kept their guns, surrendered in front of General Arora. This is a coward army that works for money, works for their salary. It's not a professional army. It's made by the British. British ke badolat inko ek mulk mil gaya. And we should not take them seriously at all. I think the Baloch have been weak because we've not had strong friends in the international community. Otherwise, they're nothing to be feared.
Mr. Marri, are leaders of the international community reaching out to leaders of the Baloch movement at this point in time? Is there anything on that front that you can perhaps share with us?
I would love it if they do. I hope that's why we were appealing to Mr. Trump, because how he's dealt with the Ukraine. When something is wrong, is wrong. Pakistan started this war. They occupied us. We've been crying out for the last 75 years. Now I think the onus is on the international community and our strong neighbors like India, China, and other powers in the region to come and interfere and put an end to this atrocity. This genocide cannot continue forever.
Mr. Marri,
should not continue.
Mr. Marri, what does that interference really look like to you? Does that look like Pakistan being split into several smaller countries, several smaller nations, several smaller states? What does that interference by an international community really look like?
Absolutely not. Pakistan should be the way Pakistan was meant to be. Pakistan, if it happily wants to be Sindh and Punjab, they can be Sindh and Punjab. Balochistan was an independent country. It was forcibly annexed. We want to be independent. We don't want to break Pakistan. We just want our country back. So Pakistan, good luck to them. Punjab can be Pakistan. Or if they want to choose another name, we want to be Pakistan. They can choose Punjabistan for themselves. But we don't want to be with them. We want our country back and our dignity back and our resources back.
Okay, but Mr. Marri, in the recent past, in the recent history, how many such examples would you say there are of nations emerging out of larger nations through such war and conflict?
No,
until and unless one is...
It does not have to be war and conflict. I represented Balochistan almost for 20 years in the United Nations Human Rights Council. I always gave the example of East Timor. It came out peacefully from Indonesia. We said, let's have a referendum under the supervision of the international community, under the supervision of the United Nations, but nobody listens to us. Now it has come. People like me are banned from speaking on international platforms. People like Mehran Baloch are treated like criminals in Islamabad when she goes for a peaceful march to get notice of our issues, to get the forcibly disappeared people back. We Baloch have no options left. If we don't defend ourselves, we will all be killed. And there'll be ethnic cleansing is going on. The Punjabis are carrying out genocidal ethnic cleansing of the Baloch nation. The Baloch have to fight for their survival. It's a war of self-defense. It's not a war of aggression.
Okay. Mr. Marri, before I let you go, one last question. Why do you think then the world has not extended the support to leaders of Balochistan previously, when many cases of forced disappearances and forced murders have been brought out by the Baloch liberation movement?
Because Pakistan has been always providing their services for a fee to the international community, be it to the Americans, be it to the Europeans, be it to the Chinese. They will work for a fee. They're the best mercenary army and the best country for sale on the planet. So where do we compare? We cannot provide the services that Pakistani military can provide as mercenaries to the world. So there, be it in Afghanistan, be it in Palestine, the Pakistani army is killed, be it in Bangladesh, they raped 200,000 Bengali Muslim women. This is the army we're talking about. We cannot provide these kind of cheap services for money. Therefore, people ignore us, and unfortunately, so they get priority.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.